Well, the first of the Elegiac Melodies is of a very dark nature, at least until the end. The second one switches to a lighter tone from the beginning. The veil of melancholy, though, remains for the entire piece. In his poem, Vinje describes the beauty of the countryside in spring, appearing after the snow of winter. He thinks he might be seeing it for the last time. Hello everyone, I'm Gianmaria Griglio and I welcome you to a new episode of Conducting Pills. If you're new here, this channel is all about classical music, score analysis and conducting tips. I want to thank all of my patrons for making this series possible, for your continuous appreciation and for your suggestions. And now, on with Grieg. The very first chord is actually an E minor chord, split between the second violin's divisi and the violas. On the second bar, it is clear already that we're moving to G major with a perfect dominant tonic cadence on the entrance of the cello. The melody sung by the first violins is terse and characterized by an alternation of one quarter note and two eighth notes, constantly returning on their own steps. The intriguing parts are the harmonic shifts underneath. If we look just at the viola's part, there is a halfway chromatic downward scale. The chromatism adds a distinguished character to the phrase because of its innate tension, something we've observed in some of the past episodes in Mozart. That's how this melody in a clean G major acquires the specific melancholic trait. Once again, the basses are, for the time being, absent. The following phrase proceeds without the cellos, with a small imitation game between the first violins and the violas. The first part of this second phrase is used to move to B major, but notice the constant chromatisms in one section or the other, the cello's line and the dynamic. Nothing here speaks of tranquility or peace of mind. The D sharp to D natural in the violas shifts the key from B major to B minor, returning to G major in the following bar. But not for long. The constant underlying anxiety prevails, moving to E minor within 2 bars. Again, this does not last long, and 2 bars later we're back in G major. Notice the cellos using the head of the theme to lead to the conclusion of the phrase. The first violins answer with the same cell, reversed, used to build a small coda to this section while the underlying chromatism keeps the tension up. The very end of this section is left to the violas and the cello's divisi, with the violas taking the head of the melody and leaving it suspended. The second part of this piece corresponds to the second verse of the poem, and it's a repetition of the same material but with a very different orchestration. Grieg orchestrates the melody initially for the violins only, divided in 4 in the high register. The dynamic is pianissimo. There is another interesting indication, sul ponticello. This means that the players should play with the bow closer to the bridge. It generally creates a slightly shrieking sound. And it's interesting here because one would normally expect an indication of playing towards the keyboard to get a warmer, rounder sound. However, this indication from Grieg tells us plenty in terms of how much this piece is everything but peaceful in spite of its major key. When the phrase continues, the bow goes back to its regular position while the violas join in. And then the cellos. Notice how the orchestration has gotten thicker and thicker, with doublings, octaves, and the intensification of the chromatism. Finally, the basses join the rest of the group in a final crescendo leading to a fortissimo e ben tenuto, another indication of not letting go of the tension, reiterated by the accents. The next fortissimo is followed by a subito piano and then by a piano dolcissimo, moving to the most delicate sound of the entire piece. Once again, the head of the theme returns and the music simply fades away, like a beautiful landscape observed for the last time. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the subscribe button right below this video and ring the bell so that you will get notified every time a new video comes out. For more in-depth analysis, conducting technique and conducting exercises, look on my website where you can find more than 100 videos and follow my Facebook group. And if you want to support this series, you're always welcome to do so on Patreon. All the links are in the description. Let me know in the comments what you think about this piece, if you have any suggestions for future videos, and I will see you in the next episode of this series. In the meanwhile, please continue to enjoy music and be well.